Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again to dig through the noise and find those connections, those insights that, really help you get a handle on things.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into something pretty unexpected.
We really are. Picture this. A community totally dedicated to a video game that's 26 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, 26. But their social space, their off-topic forum, it's not just misty-eyed nostalgia.
Not at all. Think of it more like this raw, completely unfiltered town square.
Right. Buzzing with these intense, sometimes really aggressive debates about things like cutting-edge AI, the chaos of global finance, even like deep anxiety about where humanity's headed.
It's quite the mix.
Okay, so let's unpack this properly. Today we're doing a deep dive into a very specific, but I think incredibly rich corner of the internet, the Project 1999 off-topic forum.
Now, for anyone listening who isn't familiar, Project 1999, people usually call it P99. It's this dedicated online community. Their whole goal is preserving the original classic EverQuest game experience, like exactly as it was, no changes.
It's a real labor of love for that specific era of gaming. But the off-topic forum, that's where things get, let's say, really interesting.
That's putting it mildly. It's a fascinating microcosm, really. So our mission today for this deep dive is to kind of synthesize an analytical summary of what was happening on this forum back in July and August 2025.
We're digging through the threads, the user interactions.
Exactly. We want to pull out the most important nuggets to help you understand the deep underlying dynamics of this unique online social space. Because you see how personal identities, the politics of who achieves what in the game, and even these really broad real-world societal anxieties, they all just crash together there, openly, aggressively sometimes.
Yeah, it creates this digital ecosystem that's honestly way more complex and reflective of bigger trends than you might initially guess.
Think of this as your shortcut, maybe. A way to get informed about this digital space that doesn't fit neatly into any box.
Definitely. And our analysis today is not just us reading out posts chronologically. We're pulling together public info, thread summaries, user profiles, the vibe of the discussions.
Trying to build a cohesive story, right? One that explores the underlying forces, the stuff that makes this community so unique, so alive, and sometimes so very contentious.
So compelling. Okay, let's get into it.
The digital town square, where broad ideas meet a niche community.
All right, so if this community is all about a game from 1999, what were they actually talking about when they went off topic? That might surprise you, honestly. The depth and breadth.
It really does. We're not just talking game mechanics here.
No way. We're
Yeah.
talking big picture stuff.
Like
the great debates, as we're calling them, technology, finance, futurism,
Yeah.
all happening in this niche space.
That's the core idea, really. This P99 off-topic forum, it's not some isolated bubble. It's plugged in. It's a hub for discussions that go way beyond the game, engaging with modern culture, modern economics.
And you see that super clearly with something like AI art, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. There was this one thread titled, "Are we allowed to like AI art?" And wow, did that become a flashpoint.
Yeah, heated.
Very. It perfectly showed the huge range of views in the community about, creativity versus automation. It really hit a nerve.
It's such a modern tension, isn't it?
Yeah,
What even is art when a machine can make it? Who's the author?
precisely. And you had users like ShovelQuest expressing this really provocative view, almost jarring, basically saying they preferred AI stuff over, and this is a quote, "actual real human effort that I can't be bothered with."
Wow. Okay. That's blunt.
It is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about taste, It represented this whole side of the argument focused on efficiency. Like, if the machine does it faster or better, why fuss about human effort? It showed a part of the community ready to embrace these new tools, even if they challenge how we traditionally think about creation.
Okay, so that's one side, the bring on the machine side.
Yeah.
What was the counter argument like?
Well, you had another really active user, Echo, pushing back hard. They described OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT and Daily, as a cult.
A cult. Strong words.
Yeah. And they said its leadership was promoting this delusional vision of AGI, that's artificial general intelligence, the sort of hypothetical human-like AI.
Right, the AI that can do anything a human can.
Exactly. Echo argued this vision suggests AGI will do all the work and mankind will enjoy the ride. Basically, deep skepticism, even like rejection of where this is all heading, what it means for human purpose, for work.
So, total opposites. One, embracing the efficiency, the other, deeply worried about the implications.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating, what it shows you, is that this forum isn't just for game chat. It's a battleground for these huge philosophical, ethical debates. They're grappling with the future of work, the definition of creativity,
Hmm.
big stuff. This specific AI art debate, it just crystallized this wider split over efficiency versus, say, traditional craftsmanship or human value. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? How does a community like this, so focused on nostalgia, on preserving the past,
Right, seemingly anchored in 1999.
how do they deal with these incredibly rapid technological changes that are challenging everything? It's a tension playing out everywhere, not just on some old game forum.
Okay, so we've got these big philosophical fights over AI. But
Hmm.
what about, the more tangible stuff like money? Did that come up?
Oh, absolutely. Money talks, even in Norath's shadow, apparently. There was this thread. If you didn't buy Bitcoin at $40,000, and it got a lot of traction.
Huh, Bitcoin talk on a P99 forum. Interesting.
Isn't it? It wasn't just a passing mention. It really highlighted a surprising side to the P99 player base. You realize this isn't just a group nostalgic for old pixels. They're actively involved, some of them quite intensely, in modern finance, crypto, market speculation.
It's almost like the mindset you need for a complex, grindy game like EverQuest that
Hmm.
translates somehow.
Maybe. That strategic thinking, calculating risk, seeking reward. It does seem to suggest a certain forward-looking, maybe even entrepreneurial or risk-taking spirit. These are people used to long odds and high stakes, in a way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you could even speculate, maybe, is this engagement with finance also like a coping mechanism or an aspiration? In a world where the economy feels kind of shaky, maybe speculating on Bitcoin gives a sense of control, a new challenge.
Possibly. Finding new dragons to slay just in the financial markets instead.
Something like that, yeah.
And it wasn't just looking back at crypto prices. They were looking forward too, right? At new games.
Yes, exactly. Their forward-looking side came through in threads discussing new releases. Like there was one, will you play Battlefield 2025?
Okay, so a community playing a 26-year-old game is actively discussing the latest AAA shooter sequel.
Right. It completely blows up any stereotype you might have about a retro gaming community being totally stuck in the past or ignoring current trends.
They're not disconnected at all.
Quite the opposite. It shows this comprehensive interest in the whole gaming landscape, past, present, and future. They're curating their experience, picking what they like from different eras, but they're definitely paying attention to what's happening now.
So these big debates, AI, finance, new games, that's one layer. But you said it's also a social hub. What does that look like day to day?
Ah, yeah. Peel back that layer of debate, and you find the pulse of the community, the shared life stuff. Because amidst all the arguments, there are these threads that are just the social backbone. It really shows its role as just a general place to hang out.
Like what kind of threads?
Well, one really stands out. It's just called End Times.
End times. Okay, that sounds ominous.
It does, but it's been running for ages. It had like 3,372 posts and over 500,000 views. Huge engagement.
Whoa. So what are they actually talking about in an end times thread for that long?
Well, it suggests it's not just about religious prophecy, it seems to be this long-standing place for people to grapple with, well, societal anxieties, existential questions, the big fears.
It kind of reminds me of the whole Y2K thing, remember that? How people got together, prepared for this perceived collapse. It's like a way to process big, scary changes collectively.
That's a great parallel. And in the P99 context, this end times thread, it seems to function like that.
Yeah.
It's a culturally familiar frame, maybe, for talking about really modern anxieties, political instability, climate change, economic fears, technology.
Things that feel apocalyptic, even if they aren't literally the apocalypse.
Exactly. It's a way for this community, which is united by looking back at the shared past, to collectively process a really uncertain future. It provides a common language, a safe space, even using dark humor sometimes, to connect over these shared fears. A collective coping mechanism.
That's actually pretty profound for an off-topic forum.
It is. But then, on the complete flip side, you have the totally mundane.
Right, it can't all be existential dread.
No way. You've got threads like movies thread, whiskey thread, favorite YouTube channels, just normal stuff, sharing recommendations, chatting about hobbies.
The small talk that builds connection.
Precisely. And these seemingly trivial things, they're critical for making it feel like a real community beyond just the game. There's even apparently a thread just for telling one specific user, PG, that you've just eaten a cheeseburger.
Seriously. A cheeseburger notification thread.
Yeah, it sounds absurd, but it highlights how the forum works as this social club where even tiny personal rituals are shared and celebrated. It strengthens the bonds. It shows trust. It's not just about raids. It's about, well, cheeseburgers.
That's amazing. It makes it feel very human. grounded.
It does, and it's
Yeah.
not just the players building this. The administrators, the GMs, they play a role too.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, there was this moment in July, the server GM, someone called Blistig, made an official announcement. A 50% bonus to experience and loot for the 4th of July weekend.
Ah, okay. A little holiday treat from the admins?
Exactly, and it was more than just a bonus. It was this moment of community-wide celebration, a reminder that the staff are there, they're listening, they're shaping the experience in positive ways too.
Builds goodwill, I imagine.
Totally. Fostered a lot of goodwill, reinforced that feeling of being on a shared journey. It shows the admins aren't just invisible rule enforcers, they're part of the community fabric, too. Really important for morale.
The personalities and the drama?
Yeah.
The crucible of conflict.
Okay, so we have this picture now. Big debates, social glue, even admin interaction. But, online communities, they have their personalities. And where you have strong personalities and opinions.
You inevitably get drama, conflict.
Yeah.
And that conflict often reveals what the community really values at its core.
Right. So let's talk about the shapers of discourse. Who are the big voices driving these conversations?
Well, the day-to-day chat, the arguments, they're often driven by a core group of really active, often very opinionated users. In that July-August 2025 period, the most prominent were definitely Echo and ShovelQuest.
The same two we heard about in the AI
The
debate.
very same. They were everywhere, creating threads, responding constantly across all sorts of topics.
From the philosophical AI stuff right down to movies and pop culture.
Exactly. They covered the whole spectrum. And it's fascinating how just a few people can become these central figures, almost like forum celebrities. They set the tone, draw people in. They're not just participating. They're actively shaping the narrative.
Key influencers, in a way.
In a very real way. And what's striking is how dynamic their interaction was. They replied to each other all the time, often continuing arguments across different threads.
So even when disagreeing, they were kind of feeding off each other.
Yeah, it suggests they were central to keeping the forum lively, keeping the intellectual energy up, like the community's main sparring partners. Their back and forth, agree or disagree, provided a lot of the forum's spark.
Okay, so you have these established voices, but sometimes a new person arrives and just throws a grenade into the mix, right?
Oh, absolutely. Not all interactions are these long-standing debates. Sometimes a newcomer makes waves, fast. And that often highlights the community's boundaries and how quickly they're enforced. Which brings us to...
The flashpoint. The Rooted Kumumi incident. Sounds dramatic.
It was, in its own small way. So this user, RootedQU, joins in August 2025, posts just 18 times, and boom, banned.
18 posts and banned. That's quick.
Extremely quick. Especially compared to the veterans who've been there for years, it's this powerful, immediate illustration of the community's rules and, crucially, their swift enforcement. A very clear line was crossed, and the response was instant.
So what did they do in those 18 posts? What was the line they crossed?
Well, their posts quickly got attention from mods and other users. They included explicit talk about multi-boxing.
Ah, multi-boxing. Playing multiple characters at once by yourself. That's often a big no-no on classic servers.
Exactly. And they also talked about wanting to unleash a propaganda spree. It really sounded like they came in with an agenda that was directly counter to the server's ethos.
So it makes you ask, right? Why such a quick ban? What does that tell you, the listener, about what this server holds sacred?
It tells you a lot. Because this ban wasn't random, it wasn't subjective. It was the predictable result of RootedQU openly defying one of Project 1999's absolute core rules. No. Multi-boxing, period.
So it wasn't just a minor rule break, it was hitting a foundational pillar of the server?
Directly challenging it. In their last few posts, RootedQU talked openly about getting one more person on my box, even musing about boxing like 100 mages.
Wow. Okay. Not subtle.
Not at all. And this is in direct, flagrant violation of rules that are crystal clear, long-standing. Multi-boxing is not allowed, defined as more than one client running per real-life person. It's fundamental. But does the community ever push back on that strictness? Or is it just accepted?
That's a good point, because the enforcement can sometimes cause friction, as we'll see. But in this case, the ban itself, especially for a brand new user flaunting the rules, it was symbolic.
A statement from the staff.
Exactly. A public reaffirmation of the server's whole philosophy. And if you zoom out, this zero-tolerance stance on multi-boxing and also on things like RMT, real money trading, selling game items for real cash.
Which totally messes up the game economy.
Right. And using third-party cheat programs. This strictness is central to P99's promise of an authentic classic experience. They guard that fiercely.
So in this crowded world of different EverQuest emulators, this strictness is actually part of P99's brand. It sets them apart.
Absolutely. It signals to players, we prioritize the integrity of the game above everything. This isn't just about one player, it's about protecting the very idea of P99.
So the Rudy Tikimio incident, though small, was like a public service announcement. We will defend the rules. This is who we are. This is how we play. Don't test us. It's a warning and a reassurance to the faithful players.
Preserving the spirit of the original game, even if it seems harsh to outsiders.
Precisely.
But you mentioned the ban also stirred up some older issues, deeper tensions about moderation.
Yeah, it did. Which leads us into the moderation paradox.
Yeah.
Because forum drama, it's often not just about the one thing happening now. It's about digging up old grudges, perceived past wrongs. And P99 has some unique moderation policies that kind of amplify that.
How so? What did Rooted Humu do?
Well, in their final posts, trying to maybe save face or rally support, they tried to frame the ban as part of something bigger. They said, quote, "This is basically what happened to Red after banning me."
Red? Who's Red?
Red was apparently a moderator from the past, and mentioning them, even if Rooted Humu was likely just making stuff up, was a calculated move. It tapped into this historical undercurrent of tension. Old forum discussions mention this Red. They allude to past issues with shaky forum moderation, even admins maybe having multiple accounts.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
So Rooted Humu was trying to connect their personal ban to these old community grievances to make it seem political, not just a rule break.
Exactly. Classic online drama tactic. Hitch your wagon to an existing narrative of discontent to gain sympathy or shift blame.
Makes sense.
And it shows you, forum drama often isn't isolated. It's cyclical. Old grievances get recycled. By linking their ban to this Red saga, Rooted Humu tried to give their case more weight, cast doubt on the mods. It really highlights the long memory of these online communities, how rumors and perceived injustices can linger.
Okay, so that's the historical context, but what about the current moderation policy? You said it was unique.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit weird. Investigating the forum rules reveals this very specific, highly unusual moderation philosophy. We're calling it a permissive moderation policy, but that doesn't mean anything goes. It's permissive in very specific ways.
Okay, like how?
Well, according to one post summarizing the rules, certain kinds of really aggressive language are explicitly allowed. The post stated, calling people pedos or child molesters is definitely allowed.
Wait, what? That's allowed.
Apparently, yes.
Yes.
That specific type of extreme insult is permitted. But other things are absolutely forbidden. Posting private info, doxing, posting pornography, or bashing the staff.
That is a very strange set of lines to draw. Allow horrific insults, but don't you dare criticize the admins.
It creates this incredibly unique, and for many people probably quite shocking, cultural environment, especially compared to mainstream social media today, which is often heavily sanitized.
Yeah, that's wild. So why? What's the thinking there? Is it some kind of twisted free speech thing?
It seems to be. This deliberate choice allow extreme personal attacks, but clamp down hard on anything threatening the server's operation or the staff's authority. It fosters this kind of classic internet feel, like the Wild West almost. Unfiltered, raw, direct vitriol is just part of the accepted social contract there.
Be like, sticks and stones might break my bones, but multi-boxing will get you banned.
Sort of. It implies that for this community, the real priorities are the game's integrity, the server's stability, the members' privacy from doxing, and respecting the authority of the staff. Civility. Tone policing. Not high on the list.
It's a very specific flavor of free speech they're cultivating. Freedom to be incredibly insulting, but within very strict boundaries related to the server's health and hierarchy.
Exactly. And while that atmosphere would definitely put a lot of people off, it's clearly part of the forum's identity. It's tied to this sense of raw, unfiltered communication. The admins aren't there to be hall monitors for politeness. They're there to stop things that could compromise the server legally or functionally. It really makes you think about how different online spaces define their own boundaries, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. A very deliberate, if controversial, choice.
The broader context forces shaping the community.
Okay, so we've looked inside the forum, the topics, the people, the drama, the rules. But none of this happens in a bubble, right? There are bigger forces at play shaping this community.
Absolutely. To really get P99, you have to look at the broader context, the external pressures, the internal strains. They all feed into the dynamics we see.
Let's start with the external stuff. Competition. Is that a factor?
A huge factor. You can't understand P99 without understanding the looming shadow of Project Quorum.
Project Quorum, or PQ, another EverQuest emulator server.
Exactly. and it's one of the most significant competitors. Research shows PQ offers a really different take on the classic EQ experience. They have things like instanced rating.
Which means groups get their own private dungeon copy instead of fighting over spawns.
Right. And they offer various quality of life changes, tweaks, to make the game less tedious or more convenient. All things that directly contradict P99's super purist, no changes philosophy.
So it's not just competition for players, it's like an ideological war over what classic EverQuest should even mean.
That's precisely it. It's more than rivalry. It's a fundamental ideological battle. P99 sees itself as the true preserver, the faithful replica. They tend to view PQ, with its modern conveniences, as less authentic, maybe even as something that's pulling players away not just from P99, but from the official Daybreak servers, too.
So P99 feels this constant pressure to defend its purity, its specific vision against these alternatives.
You can feel it. This external threat from servers like Quorum creates this palpable need for P99 to double down on its identity. And that feeds directly back into that zero-tolerance policy on rule breaking we talked about.
Ah, okay. So the strictness isn't just about internal order. It's about defining themselves against the competition.
If you connect the dots, yeah. When someone like Rooted King Yu comes in publicly promoting multi-boxing, the Swift ban isn't just enforcing a rule. It's a consequence of this bigger existential struggle to protect the P99 way of life against other interpretations. The stakes feel higher because of that external competition. It shows how market pressures, ideological fights, they deeply influence internal rules and behavior, even for you, the individual player just trying to enjoy the game.
It's drawing a very clear line.
Mhm.
This is what P99 is, and it's different from that.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the external pressure. What about internal strains, things coming from the game itself?
Yeah, that's the other big piece. Endgame burnout and the grind. The very nature of EverQuest, especially the classic version P99 emulates, plays a huge role in the community's vibe.
How so? It's a hard game, famously grindy.
Extremely. And that takes a psychological toll. You hear it constantly from veteran players, this recurring sense of burnout, deep frustration with the sheer, almost unhealthy amount of time and effort the game demands, especially for endgame stuff like raiding or mastering trade skills.
So the nostalgia wears off.
For many, yeah. That initial nostalgia kick that brings them back eventually crashes into the harsh reality of the grind. Hours and hours of repetitive tasks, waiting for rare things to happen. It's demanding.
Like a second job you don't get paid for? I can see how that would lead to frustration. How does that spill onto the forums?
Well, this widespread feeling of disenchantment, of pouring in massive effort and not always seeing the reward, it often erupts into public conflict. Forum drama.
Ah, so people get frustrated with the game and take it out on each other.
Sometimes, yeah. It's fascinating how players channel that frustration. When they feel their huge investment of time, of emotion, isn't paying off, maybe they didn't get that rare item, a raid failed, a trade skill attempt fizzled, that energy has to go somewhere, and often it pours into forum arguments. Disputes over fairness, accusations against other players, even complaints about the staff or the game's design itself. The grind creates this baseline tension.
A constant source of friction ready to ignite.
Exactly. This underlying tension over time, commitment versus reward, it just simmers. And it can easily escalate into public fights, contributing a lot to that confrontational atmosphere we've seen. The game itself, its very design, is almost generating social conflict.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How much does the nature of the activity, the game, the hobby, the job, shape the social dynamics around it?
It's a huge factor. You could probably see parallels in other intense pursuits, right? High-stakes hobbies, demanding professions. Where the investment is huge, the pressure is high, the social interactions can become equally intense, both good and bad. It's a universal thing playing out here in this specific digital world. Even virtual worlds have real psychological weight. Outro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. We have really dug deep into the Project 1999 off-topic forum for July and August 2025. And it's clear, isn't it? It's so much more than just a place to talk about an old video game. It's a microcosm.
Absolutely. This deep dive, I think, has shown us a community that's surprisingly vibrant, intellectually buzzing. You've got these big societal debates, AI, crypto playing out with real passion. It shows a user base that's engaged, informed, far from isolated.
And at the same time, it's this vital social hub. You've got spaces for incredibly profound, almost existential discussions, like that end times thread, right next to someone sharing they just ate a cheeseburger. It spans the cosmic and the completely mundane, building real connection.
We've also seen how they carve out and defend their unique identity. That strict rule enforcement, like with rooted EKMU, is key to their purest vision. But then, paradoxically, there's that incredibly permissive moderation policy, allowing raw, unfiltered, sometimes shocking communication, that classic internet feel.
It's a strange mix of tight control and deliberate chaos.
It really is. And finally, we've understood how that identity is constantly being shaped by external threats like competing servers Project Quorum pushing a different vision, and by internal pressures like the burnout from the game's intense grind, both fueling the tensions, the drama that seem characteristic of the place.
So wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for you, the listener, navigating your own online worlds?
I think it's this. Whenever you encounter an online space, no matter how niche it seems, how specific its topic, pause for a second. Consider that it might be reflecting much bigger things. Societal forces, basic human nature, the complex stance of identity and belonging.
Yeah. The Project 1999 forum really shows us that even in these specialized corners, people are wrestling with huge universal questions. What has value? What is integrity? What does it mean to share an experience authentically? And they're doing it in ways that are raw, messy, compelling, utterly fascinating.
It's an invitation, really. Look beyond the surface of the digital interactions you see every day. Ponder the hidden depths, the human stories playing out, even behind the avatars and usernames.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.